Breaking news. Former Stoughton Police Deputy Chief Robert Devine apparently contacted Sandra Birchmore on the day she died. This and even more new revelations came to light during secret disciplinary proceedings where he is being accused of misconduct involving Sandra Birchmore, and were aired back in June during a closed-door adjudicatory hearing conducted by POST, or the Peace Officers Standards and Training Commission, which we have been hearing so much about over the last several months. This and more in today's video. Hello, and welcome back, roommates, to another edition of Alexasrewm, where we are not lawyers, we are not medical professionals, and we are not law enforcement. We are just people. People who have opinions about all things going on in the true crime community, including the ex-Stoughton police supervisor Robert Devine apparently contacting Sandra Birchmore on the day she died. According to the Boston Globe, Robert Devine is being accused of misconduct involving Sandra Birchmore, have revealed through the secret disciplinary proceedings new details about the last day of her life, and unearthed a department controversy that had previously stayed out of public view. The revelations were aired in June during a closed-door adjudicatory hearing conducted by the Peace Officers Standards and Training Commission, or POST, which is seeking to sanction Robert C. Devine. Attorney Sean Martinez, who represents the commission, revealed during his opening statement that federal prosecutors alleged Devine contacted Birchmore on February 1st, 2021, which is the day Matthew Farfilth allegedly strangled her during an evening visit to her apartment. No other details about the communication were included in the redacted recordings. Attorney Robert Stowe, who represents Devine, said during the hearing that the case against his client is a big lie. Shock and horror there that they would say that, which is pretty rich considering his entire career was basically one long Craigslist casual encounters ad. Didn't Matthew Farfilth also try to claim that he never started being intimate with Sandra Birchmore until she was of legal age, and after he was married, and all he was really guilty of apparently was just being a terrible husband and cheating on his wife, even though there are text messages explicitly outlining that he stole her virginity when she was, 15? And how he wished that he had stolen it sooner. Now, if you need a more extensive background on this case or some of the cast of characters that we're going to be talking about in this video, I will link the Sandra Birchmore playlist from this channel at the end of this video, so you can go and check that out. But for this video, here is the quick and dirty on Devine. So this douche canoe pictured over here to the left of Sandra Birchmore is Deviant Devine, who used to run the Police Explorers program that Sandra Birchmore used to be involved with when, I believe, she was just 12 years old, and then continued through over the next couple of years. So this program was mainly designed kind of like 4-H and the Boy Scouts of America to help kids get interested in potentially wanting to pursue a career later down the line in law enforcement, which sounds and should be a very positive thing. But instead, this douche canoe, as well as Matthew Farfilth, quickly turned into a buffet for grown men with zero self-control, a breeding ground for predators like Robert Devine and Matthew Farfilth to get access to children and groom them, allegedly. And of course, as the song and dance goes, they deny having any inappropriate contact with her or anybody else prior to Sandra being of legal age to consent. So Deviant Devine retires from the Stoughton force in 2022 during an internal investigation into his interactions with Birchmore, and is no longer certified to work in law enforcement. So instead of pursuing an exciting new career path in communications, deviant Devine becomes a lawyer. Because if you can't protect kids from creepy creeps like you, might as well become the attorney to defend them. So now I'm going to play a quick clip from the podcast called The Case, which is hosted by Kirk Minahan as well as Dave Cullinane. They go a lot deeper into a lot of the details of Robert Devine and his background and some of the allegations that have been made over the last several years. This is a interview that was conducted in the podcast from season 2, episode 2, with one of Robert Devine's alleged survivors. So, quick trigger warning: if you need to take care of yourself and you need to skip forward, feel free to. I will make sure to have everything marked so you can take care of yourself. And I will see you in a few moments.
Just so for our edification for the interview, what was Devine's job? What was he doing at that school?
So he was the school resource officer, and he did the open gym program after school, and he did police explorers, which wasn't through the schools. It was his own little thing that he did. Yeah, that was his job. That's what he did.
And do you talk in the interview? Is it you that talks about the instant messenger usernames?
Yeah, he gave all the boys he gave like these 2 boys his AOL instant messenger name, and I got one of them to give it to me.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was brief conversation, but my dad's girlfriend like zoomed in and ruined it for me.
Oh, what was the content of the messages? Anything or?
No, nothing crazy. No, I don't even remember. It was like just chatting.
You talked about, right, in one of the interviews in the interview about how you saw him driving around with girls who were in middle school.
Oh yeah, I'm telling you, he had young 12, 13-year-old girls in his car, in his personal car and cop car. And I'll never forget it. I was 12 years old. I was in McDonald's, and this older girl, she was a grade above me, came up to me and said, "Stop talking to Officer Devine." She said, "Leave him alone. Don't let me find out you're talking to him." And I'll never forget, it came out of nowhere. I was shocked. He was like a magnet for girls in a weird, hot jock way. He did not act like an adult.
Right.
Around girls.
So everything this woman is alleging and outlining on the podcast is brooming 101. The car rides, the forehead kisses, leveling with these kids to make it seem like the R. Kelly song ain't nothing but a number, right? Or whatever it's called. This is exactly the same experience I had gone through with my own predator, where you get the private car rides, you get your own special text messages and email communications and screen names, and you get the forehead kisses, and you get the normalization too around other adults, to signal to you that, oh, what they're doing is okay. It's not just acceptable behavior by the person who is doing the brooming, but also by all of his friends in the company you share. So you just think, oh, well, if he's calling me his girlfriend in front of his friends, and they all seem like really nice people, and they're really nice to me, and they haven't done anything, inappropriate to me, then what's happening right now is totally fine and normal. And, we could totally be boyfriend, girlfriend, even though he's 30, 40 plus years older than me. So it totally just rings true. And thankfully, it sounds like this woman was never, at least from my understanding, was never assaulted in the same way that Sandra Birchmore was. Still makes for a very traumatic experience, and not to minimize it at all. But again, just the parallels between her experience and my own experience is incredibly daunting. And she goes on to say later in the interview that she used to even hang out in the police station with Deviant Devine in his office and have these private little conversations where he would flirt with her. And there was this one scenario where he, I think, put her on his lap and she was upset because he was getting married. And mind you, she was only about 12 years old at the time, so the same age Sandra Birchmore was when she entered the Police Explorers program, and the grooming process began there. And it's very mechanical for these guys. And he gave her a forehead kiss, and he said, "You're a knockout. When you're 18, I'll take you out on a date." All right, again, just to normalize the pervertedness and complete disgusting nature of the conversation, to make it feel like, oh, this is no big deal. She also goes on to say that all of the other officers, excluding Matthew Farfelt, knew what was going on, knew exactly what was going on, which makes every single person in that department completely and utterly responsible for what happened to any one of those children. A lawsuit brought by Birchmore's estate alleges Devine and William Farwell had inappropriate contact with her when she was an adult. The investigating officer is trying to present a lie that has been perpetrated by Birchmore at the behest or the encouragement of William Farwell. Stowe said during the June 5th hearing, "The lie is there, it's glaring, but nobody's seen it." Stowe didn't elaborate on that assertion in footage included in the redacted recordings. Attorney Stephen Marullo, who represents Birchmore's estate, said the claim doesn't make sense and hasn't been raised in the civil case. So, in other words, they're saying she's a liar. She's making this all up because of Matthew Farfelt's twin. Now, of course, we don't have access to those specific text messages. We've seen from the federal investigation the communications between her and Matthew Farfelt. So, whether or not this is true or not, we don't know, but survey says, based on all of the other mountains of evidence to support certain allegations, it seems like it's very possible that this is true. It's also easy to push the blame onto somebody who is no longer alive to defend themselves or provide any additional evidence. So, and if some of these speculations online are true about there being another party involved in her self-unaliving staging, and Robert Devine potentially was involved, it would make sense as to this being a part of evidence that might disappear. I don't know. What say you? Again, that's all just kind of rumored and speculation, but the investigation found that Devine used the alias Marty Riggs, which just completely ruins Lethal Weapon for all Americans, to communicate with Birchmore on Facebook, which he disputes. As part of his defense, Devine provided internal investigators with documentation showing he's been targeted by hackers, Stowe said. So blame it on the dang Russians, right?
No longer the deputy chief or head of explorers. On April 8th, 2022, Robert Devine was interviewed by retired captain of Mass State Police Paul Italian and retired Detective Lieutenant Robert Fries as part of Stoughton's internal investigation into the death of Sandra Birchmore. During this interview, Devine continually denied that he had any type of contact or relationship with Sandra. When informed that by that stage of the investigation, there had been no direct communication found between him and Birchmore, he replied, "You won't find it." Just over a month later, on May 17, investigators were reviewing the contents of Sandra's laptop when a conversation thread was discovered in a Facebook Messenger file. The contact appeared to be a blocked or anonymous Facebook user. Based on the content and context of the conversation, the user quickly appeared to be Devine. The person is an attorney, as Devine is, an employee of the Stoughton Police Department, and discusses, among other things, meeting with Sandra Birchmore while on duty in a patrol car. The conversation discusses meeting locations in Stoughton. After further investigation, the Facebook user was identified as, quote, Marty Riggs. If the name Marty Riggs might sound familiar, but you can't quite place it, let me help you out here.
Now I can read you guys your rights, but now you guys already know what your rights are, don't you?
Martin Riggs is a police officer played by Mel Gibson in the Lethal Weapon films.
You think I'm crazy? Yeah. You calling me crazy? You think I'm crazy?
Hey, you want to see crazy?
I mean, what's next? He's gonna slide into somebody's DMs as Optimus Prime? Give me a break.
Assuming a parody account on Facebook to communicate, at times on duty, with a former student in his Explorer program. And multiple sources have told us the texts from Devine were so graphic in nature that they could not be released to the public.
During the hearing, Stowe questioned Holmes and McNamara, who was the former police chief at Stoughton, about their relationships with Devine. Stowe also inquired about an incident during which Holmes retrieved a note written in crayon from his department mailbox, which read, "Red rum, no. Revenge is a meal best served cold." The testimony linked the note to a 2016 visit to the police station by Devine's 8-year-old daughter, who was using crayons. The girl's visit occurred soon after Devine had returned to duty following his demotion from deputy chief to patrol officer and a 60-day unpaid suspension. The sanctions were triggered by an internal affairs investigation, which found deviant Devine directed a subordinate to look into harassing messages he was receiving as he attempted to end an extramarital affair. In that case, deviant Devine also claimed he was targeted by hackers. Ooh. McNamara testified she directed a lieutenant to investigate the note. Do you recall that his 8-year-old daughter was given a trespass notice saying that she couldn't come near the police station? Stowe asked McNamara. She said that the girl wasn't allowed in the station without my authorization. So it sounds like he's having his daughter do his bidding, which is just all kinds of ugh. During Holmes's testimony, he said he and Devine had been friends earlier in their careers, but he distanced himself from Devine in about 2011. He gave several reasons for his decision, including concerns that Devine's interactions with an adult who previously participated in the Explorers program were getting way too cozy. The former explorer was not Birchmore, Holmes said, though his response to a question about the timing of Devine's interactions with the former explorer was redacted, so the world may never know unless it is publicly released. Holmes testified that he wasn't biased against Devine, but anticipated that Devine would make that allegation and recused himself from interviewing him during the internal affairs probe, which was probably the best possible solution. According to testimony, an examination of Birchmore's electronic communications revealed Devine's reaction to her raising the possibility that Matthew Farfilth had fathered her unborn child, which we have now learned he was not the father. So the responses back and forth between him and Sandra Birchmore apparently said something to the effect of, "You shouldn't be talking to me about this. You shouldn't be talking to anybody about this," Holmes testified. He's treating her trauma like a parking ticket, some big nuisance. Let's just bury the lead, right? Nobody needs to know, which makes me also think, too, that it very well could have been maybe his if he was inappropriately encountering her. I don't want to say they bumped uglies because that's not what it was. She never had a choice to consent with any of these men. If these allegations are true, which I am inclined to believe they are, she never once had a chance or opportunity to consent because she was groomed at a very young age and brainwashed. So it's just so disgusting and sad. But she believed, it seemed, throughout this text messages that Matthew Farfilth was in fact the father. Now, interestingly, he wanted to let it all hang out. I asked for this hearing. I wanted it public, and it's not, Devine told the Globe. He was accompanied by a woman who placed her hand in front of an iPhone the Globe was using to record Devine on his way to the hearing. "I am under gag orders, you know that. There are things that I can't say, and you know that." It's giving the same kind of attitude Proctor's been giving of, "Oh yeah, you could check my phones, but you're not going to find anything because I got a new phone, actually, so there's nothing on the new phone, of course. The Globe obtained redacted recordings of the June proceedings from attorney Howard Friedman, a civil rights lawyer who got them through a public records request, so power to the people, folks. I mean, again, that's how we got all of the receipts from the Karen Reed retrial. The Globe requested a copy in July, but the commission has yet to provide them because there have been a series of these proceedings, as well as with Matthew Forfelth, which has just been like delay. So much for truth and transparency, right? Now, apparently, there is also going to be a Dateline special airing this Friday. Dateline is doing an hour special on Sandra Birchmore. My expectations for this are pretty low, just considering you're not going to get any of the hard-hitting questions you want asked by Dateline reporters. It's generally just used to reach a wider audience, which in that respect is a good thing. This case definitely needs a brighter light shown onto it. It's been heavily buried, hasn't been given the media spotlight it deserves, so that is a good thing. And if it does draw a wider audience and get that public recognition that it deserves and Sandra and her family deserve, then that's great. But again, I'm not holding my breath in terms of content, especially when the guys who created the podcast we just pulled a clip from, who were investigating this case, are claiming they've been cut out from the show according to their sources. So I'm not really holding my breath here. I'm curious to see who they even interview. Obviously the family, probably some of the attorneys involved as well, but I don't expect to hear from John Fanning, who, you know, is all over this case and was buddies with Matt. So we shall see. I'll be tuning into it, though, for sure, and maybe giving my thoughts during this week's Sunday Soup, which, if you haven't already, make sure you check out that episode. We did a high-level overview of the Kelsey Fitzsimmons updates. There are more updates to come, so I'm going to be posting about that probably in my next video, so stay tuned there. But thank you so much for watching, and until next time.